Over the last 2 years, the housing market has been pressured by the pandemic. People's need for more space, a different kind of space, the buyer competition, the increase in prices, and the historically low inventory. All those things have come together and really put a squeeze on the housing market. It's been a great ride for most sellers, but not necessarily all buyers. Those conditions can be very frustrating if you don't get to purchase the house you want, if you lose a house or lose multiple houses and you're feeling the pressure and you need to move. It can be a lot. And you could jump in, buy a house that you don't need and you don't like, and then you have buyer's remorse. How do we avoid buyer's remorse? That's what we're talking about today, and we're starting right now.
I'm Sherry Ann Green with Coldwell Banker. Welcome to my YouTube channel that guides home sellers and home buyers in Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia.
The market in 2022 is looking to be similar to what we've seen in the last 2 years. Low inventory, buyers are still out, and prices may continue to rise. I put a house on the market in early January, and we've had a lot of snow in DC, not necessarily 20 inches, but a lot of different times when the weather has been cold and snowy and just not really great to get out and buy a house. So when we put this house on the market, we really weren't sure what might happen. We knew that there wasn't anything else like it in its neighborhood, and we knew that there were still buyers who had been looking last year and not found what they wanted, but would January be a deterrent? No was the answer. I'm just going to cut right to it. It wasn't a deterrent. We had the house on for 2.5 days. We probably had 70 people through that house. I don't know how anybody saw anything. I guess everybody had a 5 or a 10 or a 15-minute appointment, and my clients wound up selling that house for $100,000 plus over what we listed it for. So we listed it at $532,000, and the buyer paid over $100,000 extra. We closed at $636,000. That's an almost 20% premium on that house. Now, certainly we'd probably listed a little bit low because we wanted to be realistic about what might happen in the January market and what things might need to be upgraded in the house, but we had no idea they would get $100,000 over, more than $100,000 over what we listed it for. So if that's any indication in a snowy January, what may happen to this market, buckle up. It still could be a bumpy ride. So in that, you want to make sure if you're a buyer, you don't have buyer's remorse. You want to make sure you're doing all the right things to make sure that you are, in fact, once you get under contract, in the right place. Here are my best tips to avoid buyer's remorse as you go to buy a house. My first piece of advice is do not get caught up in the frenzy. Now, it is a frenzy, but my point here is this. If you don't have to buy immediately, don't start writing offers on everything you see. Make sure that what you put an offer in on is really what you want, and that you are willing to go in all the way with the right offer, with the right amount of money, with the right amount down, with the right contingencies or lack thereof. Make sure that what you're buying is what you really want. If you want to live in the city and you want to be able to walk to restaurants and retail and walk to the park, don't jump out to the suburbs and buy something out there just because you need or think you need to buy. Now, some people are crunched because of their rental situation. Their rent may be increasing, their rental contract may be ending, and maybe their landlord isn't going to renew it, and that can put a crunch on your purchase. But make sure you're not getting caught up in the frenzy and just buying something because everybody else wants to buy it, and then you close and you realize, I hate this place. It's a terrible position to be in. My second piece of advice is don't overpay. Now, that may sound crazy based on what I just told you, but what I mean by that is this. You have to decide what your bottom line is, what your top line is, I guess is really the right way to say it. My point is, how much are you willing to spend on a house? If you know you're going to be there for the next 20 years, it's probably okay if you overpay for the house. But what is that overpayment number to you? To the buyer of the house I just sold in Springfield, it was $100,000 plus. But to you, it might be 50, it might be 20, it might be 10. And go in confidently with that and be okay if it's not the right house. My point in all of this is you don't want to overextend yourself. Now you're in a house you love and you're eating ramen noodles every night, and that's not where anybody wants to be. If you have a new house, you're going to want to show it off and invite your friends over and have charcuterie and wine. And if you can't do that because you can't do anything but pay your house payment, it's a struggle and it's a problem, and it can give you buyer's remorse. So don't overextend yourself, don't overextend your budget when you go to buy a house. The third tip is to get a home inspection. And you're also going to hear me in other videos talk about the fact that one way to win a contract in this market is not to do a home inspection contingency in your contract, but do a home inspection before you write that offer. There are lots of inspectors who will do what's called a walk and talk. They will walk through the house with you and talk about all of the major components of the house, tell you the age of them or their approximate age, and tell you if they see any early signs of needing repair immediately. They can look at the roof for you and look at the foundation, and those are the big ticket items that could really give you a problem. You can see if the windows lock and close. You can see if the doors lock and close. There are things that you can eyeball, and if you've bought 2 or 3 or 4 houses, you probably know what it means to have all of these systems, and you probably know how many of them work. So you can still make your offer competitive by doing this home inspection before. Just skipping it all together because you think it's what the seller wants could put you in a position to buy a house that's not in the condition that you think it is, and that can give you buyer's remorse. So do a pre-offer inspection, a pre-offer walk and talk, and make sure you understand exactly what you're purchasing so you don't have regrets after you sign the paperwork. My last piece of advice is this: make sure you work with a great agent. A great buyer's agent will not push you to buy a house you should not buy. They will ask you a lot of questions, either up front or as you tour a house, to make sure that you are thinking through what you're buying. They'll help you talk through writing an offer, writing an escalation clause if you need to, doing a walk and talk inspection, and any of the other components that you might want to think about and strategize about to put together a great offer. But a good buyer's agent isn't going to make you write an offer on a house you don't like. They should check you at each showing to make sure that the house is what you want. If you say you want to live in the city and now you've got them out in the middle of nowhere on a farm, they're probably going to say to you, "Are you sure that this is now what you want?" If you've told them all along you really want a pool and you wind up finding a house and you think, "I've got to put an offer in on it because I've got to get a house and it doesn't have a pool," your agent should say, "But you wanted a pool." Now, what I want to say in all of this is it's okay to change your mind, of course. And a lot of buyers do. A lot of buyers think they know what they need and want, and then they go to tour and they figure out it's something else altogether. But a good agent is going to talk you through that. A good agent is going to listen to you as you explain why your wants and needs have changed and why this house is good for you and will help you move in the right direction based on that. So make sure you're working with an agent who isn't pressuring you to buy anything and everything you see, but is pressuring you, or working with you is the better answer, to buy what's right for you. What's your experience been like? Have you had buyer's remorse? I'd like to hear about it in the comments if you have. If you've bought something recently and you love it, I'd love to hear that too, because isn't that what home buying should be? It should be fun and exciting, and I try to bring that to you every week with my videos. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, because I talk about real estate, the buying and the selling process in each of the videos I post every week, and I'd love to have you come along.